Okay, so in this video, let's look at the anatomy of the liver. This is your liver. This is the anterior surface. This is the posterior surface. And when you look at this, you're going to see there's a gigantic blue blood vessel here. Well, that's the inferior vena cava. So that, when we rotate it, so that the inferior vena cava points up, that's the superior aspect of the liver. So it would fit in your body like so, right here on the right-hand side, upper right-hand side of your abdominal cavity. So that would make this the right hepatic lobe, and then the small pointy end is the left hepatic lobe. And if we turn it to look at the inferior vena cava, you can see right next to that is a small lobe of the liver. And this is called the caudate lobe. That one right there is called the caudate lobe. And if we look at the other side, okay, well, let's go ahead and flip this over. Right next to the gallbladder here is another lobe that's got 4 sides to it. It's called the quadrate. If we look in closely at all the blood vessels, this is the posterior aspect of the liver. You can see all these blood vessels. There's purple, there's blue, and there's red. Purple is portal. So this is the hepatic portal vein. Blue is vein, so hepatic vein. Red is artery, so hepatic arteries. Remember, the hepatic portal vein brings all the nutrient-rich blood, poorly oxygenated but nutrient-rich, back from all the mesentery and the intestines and everything, back to the liver. So the liver now processes all these nutrients and toxins and everything else that's in your blood, and it all enters through the hepatic portal vein. So now if we look at a model, now let's flip it over this side. If we look at a model of the histology of the liver, that's what this is right here. If you were to look underneath a microscope at a slide of the liver, what you're going to see are a whole bunch of these little hex-shaped lobules. These are hepatic lobules. In the center of that hepatic lobule is a central vein. And now you see all these cracks and stuff inside of this lobule, and those are called sinusoids. Those are open spaces that allow drainage of fluid. Okay? That drainage is going to come from this little there's actually 5 tubes there, but it's still called the triad because of the 3 major tubes that are found here: purple, red, and green. Green on all of our models means bile. So this is portion of the bile ductile. Purple is portal, so this is the hepatic portal. And then red is an artery, so this is hepatic artery. These 3 together make up the triad. And the way it works is all that material from the hepatic portal vein are going to enter this triad, and they're going to feed that nutrient-rich, poorly oxygenated blood through these liver lobules, through the sinusoids, all the way to the central vein. And as that blood is moving through, it's going to be processed by the hepatocytes, the liver cells. So if we zoom in on 1/4 of these liver lobules, that's what this model is right here, where the triad is up in this corner and the central vein is down here. The hepatic vein is down here. Central vein of the lobule. And you can see we have these open spaces throughout, which are the sinusoids. And we have these individual cells that are shown in here, and those are our hepatocytes. The hepatocytes do all sorts of wonderful stuff. They make proteins, they detoxify our blood, and one more thing that they do is they synthesize bile salts, and that's for another place in another lecture. But when you look at these, what you're going to see are a whole bunch of little green dots, green dots, green dots. Well, think of those as tubes that are extending out of this model, and they all join this green line right here. Those are called bile canaliculi, canaliculi. Those are little canals that feed into this structure right here, which now all of these bile salts that are going to help in fat emulsification enter this bile ductile before descending down through the rest of the bile tract. So what does the rest of the bile tract look like? For that, we're going to look at this funny little plaque. Okay, so we can look at the liver. Up here is where we have those hepatocytes, and they're going to send the bile salts into the bile ductiles, which now are going to feed all of those bile salts into either the left side of the liver or the right side of the liver. Liver is hepatic, so these are hepatic ducts, right hepatic duct and left hepatic duct. Where those come together, we now have the common hepatic duct. Bile salts move through the common hepatic duct, and they can either enter the gallbladder or they can descend down into the duodenum through the bile duct. Okay, no longer the hepatic duct because it's not in the liver anymore, so now it's just the bile duct. Now, the gallbladder is like a turkey baster. When it contracts, fluid is ejected out, then it enters the bile duct. And as it's relaxing, right, this creates a subatmospheric pressure system, because pressure is inversely related to volume, and this is going to draw material back up into it. So as those bile salts are secreted out of the liver, if the gallbladder is relaxing, which it's doing most of the time, then it sucks bile salts up into it and it stores all those bile salts. The name of the duct that it's bringing the material through, and it will end up ejecting that material back out through, is called the cystic duct. So in the presence of a particular hormone called cholecystokinin, that's going to cause the smooth muscle around the gallbladder to contract. And that's going to now send bile salts out through the bile duct into the hepatopancreatic ampulla, out through the hepatopancreatic sphincter, into the duodenum, where it then meets up with the fats that are coming down from the stomach, and it's going to start to emulsify those fats. There's at least one more model that I have that shows a bile duct. Just remember that anything green is part of the bile system. This is descending down just posterior to the pancreas, in between the duodenum and the pancreas, and this bile duct, the common bile duct, is going to enter into the duodenum, and that's about all you can see on this model, but that's still the bile duct. That's all for the models that we want to look at right now for the liver and the accessory function of the liver, which is to produce bile salts and secrete them into the duodenum. Please make sure you know that flow chart of the entire bile duct system.